Morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. It's a really beautiful sunny day here in Thurk, and it's my pleasure to welcome the leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, and the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. While we're here and the feeling is really good, I have to say that we're here for a very, very serious issue here today. As we all know, and everyone that lives in Thurrock, the issue of antisocial behaviour is a blight on our community. Everywhere I go, when I talk to people on the doors, over and over, complaints about low-level crime, antisocial behaviour, making people's lives a misery comes up time and time again. It's not good enough, and people here deserve better. So I'm absolutely delighted that we have Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper here today to talk about how a Labour government will crack down and tackle this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jen. We've got brilliant sunshine here in Thurrock, but this is also huge thank you to all of you for the amazing work you are doing to help us make Jen a brilliant Labour MP. Thank you to all of you. We know after 14 years of Conservatives that it does feel like everything feels broken, and you don't see the police on the street too often because neighbourhood policing's been cut. We've got too often people feeling like no one comes and nothing is done when things go wrong. We know that they've got record numbers of people now saying antisocial behaviour is a huge problem in their area, and that is not fair on our communities. That is not fair on people who are working hard and trying to get on and who are dealing with the harassment, the nuisance, the crime in local communities and don't see the police in order to do something about it. And that's why we have made cracking down on antisocial behaviour one of the first steps, putting neighbourhood police back on the beat and tackling some of the real problems and making sure the police and communities have got the power to act. It's why we're challenging the real scourge of antisocial behaviour from off-road biking, the bikes that are being ridden on the roads, that are being ridden on our communities through our estates, often no regard for any speed limits, not wearing any helmets, deliberately being ridden round in circles to harass local residents. I've talked to families who just say they live in terror of their kids going out onto the streets to play on the streets because of the bikes whizzing by. They can't get the baby to sleep because of the bikes whizzing by deliberately, winding up the communities. And that's why we're setting out new plans today to give the powers, to give the police the powers to speedily crack down, to crush the bikes swiftly where they're being used for antisocial behaviour, to increase the fines and make sure that we can take action that is blighting communities, and make sure too we can get the police back on the beat, the neighbourhood police in our communities we need. But it's Keir who has made this such a priority for us. It's Keir who knows how important it is to uphold the rule of law, to make sure that we can pursue justice and fairness for our communities, because of the work he's done in the past, because of the leadership he has shown to change our party over the last 5 years, and now standing ready to change our country, our leader, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Jen. And thank you to all of you for a really warm welcome. It's great to be back here in Thurrock, I think just over 4 weeks since we launched our first steps for government, this document. Remember that? Back then, we didn't know that the Prime Minister was about to call the general election. But he did. And that's so good, because I think the whole country has been longing for and waiting for this election to come, because this is the point where the power goes to you, the voters, to make a choice. And it's a really important part of our democracy. The strength is now with every single person in a few weeks' time to make that choice. And the choice is so stark, getting starker, if you like, by the day, which is to carry on with the chaos and division of the failure that have been the hallmarks of the last 14 years, or to have the chance to turn the page and to start to rebuild our country with Labour, starting, of course, with those 6 steps. Now, when we say that's the choice between the chaos and division or turning the page to rebuild for the future, I'm not sure we expected the Tories to evidence that chaos and division every day of the campaign for us. So we thank them for that continued chaos and division, for desperately putting unfunded pledges on the table every day, because it does make it even more stark as we go into the election, just what a relief it would be for the country if we're able to make that choice to turn the page and rebuild with Labour. And, you know, the reason I say that about the chaos and division is because it is there for us to see every day, and we can see it in this campaign. But it has a cost, a human cost, because across the country, if you can't pay your bills, if the cost of living crisis is bearing down on you, that really hurts. I've been talking to families in this campaign who are desperate about the fact their mortgage has gone up again and they can't afford it. And when the Prime Minister says we've turned a page, it's all fine, that is so at odds with what they're feeling. This has a cost, and it's a human cost. And we can't go on like this. And I remember when I was growing up, because I grew up working class, and there were times when my family couldn't pay the bills. We, in fact, chose to have the telephone bill. I have the telephone cut off because we couldn't afford to pay the bill. But underneath that, there was still a feeling that was very important to my parents, which was that it will be better for my children. We can pull together. If you work hard, you will get on. But can we seriously say that that is still here in this country after the damage of the last 14 years? I don't think so. But here's the good news. You can do something about it. You can vote in that election to turn the page and to rebuild the country. And my message, in a way, is quite simple. We have turned this Labour Party into a party that serves working people, where we proudly say country first, party second, every time. And what we're seeking now is the opportunity to change the country and put it back in the service of working people. A country fit for the future, where we can genuinely say, in future, we are better off. It's a better country. Our NHS is working properly. Our public services are working properly. That is the choice. They're big ambitions. They're big ambitions for our country. I have big ambitions for our country. But all ambition starts with first steps. The document that we published here just 4 and a bit weeks ago, the first steps in government. The first, of course, is delivering economic stability. Because if you lose control of the economy, it's working people who pay the price. All those people who can't afford their mortgage, the bills that they have to pay, making difficult decisions for them and their family. They're paying the price for the chaos and division and failure of the Tories. That's step one. Step two, we have to get to grips with our NHS and put it back on its feet. There's a daily discussion in our household because my wife works for the NHS, so I know firsthand just how hard it is for the staff within the NHS. We've got a waiting list now which is nearly 8 million. 8 million. That is shocking. It's never been so high. So that's why our second step is to put in place a plan for 40,000 appointments each and every week to get those operations and appointments down. That's 2 million a year to clear the backlog and get the NHS back into the position it needs to be in. The third step is to do with our borders, because the Tories have lost control of our borders. Record numbers of people crossing the Channel in small boats. Record numbers, over 10,000 this year alone. That is the highest it's ever been at this stage of the year. And that's 18 months after the Prime Minister said he would stop the boats. We have a serious, this is a serious problem. It's a serious problem requiring a serious solution, not a gimmick. So we will set up a border security command, which will bring together all the vital elements of policing and law enforcement, an elite force, a command with new resources and new powers, including counter-terrorism powers, to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade. The fourth thing we'll do, step 4, we'll set up Great British Energy, a publicly owned company, owned by the taxpayer, making money for the taxpayer, and the only way that we can have those lower bills that so many people need, including businesses. Yesterday was Small Business Day. What did they say to me was bearing down on them? Energy costs. And they really like Great British Energy as the way to get those energy costs down, to make sure that we've got security so Putin can't put his boot on our throat, and also to ensure that we've got the jobs of the future. Step 5 is to deal with the problem we have in our schools where we don't have enough teachers teaching the basic subjects in our state secondary schools. So we will recruit 6,500 teachers into our state secondary schools so every child can feel that success belongs to them. And then step 6, what we're dealing with today, which is dealing with antisocial behaviour and putting 13,000 police, neighbourhood police, into our areas to deal with antisocial behaviour. Now, frankly, I am fed up with people saying to me about antisocial behaviour that it's low level, it doesn't really impact on people's lives, there's more serious crimes. It impacts hugely on communities, on towns, on villages, on people who feel that they can't safely go out of their own front door, can't walk down their own high street. And this isn't just after dark. I've had teenage girls say to me that they don't feel safe walking down their own high street in the middle of the day because of the antisocial behaviour. So we have to take it seriously, to clamp down on it. And that's why we're dealing with dirt bikes today, because these bikes are used across the country to terrorise people, going round and round the communities, absolutely causing havoc and antisocial behaviour left, right and centre. You all know it, we all know it, it's intolerable, and we have to do something to deal with it. So we've got a plan to absolutely seize this, literally seize it, and crush these bikes to make sure they can't be used again, to make sure that we are absolutely bearing down on antisocial behaviour, because it isn't low level, it does affect people's lives, and it affects the well-being that people feel. I think 13,000 neighbourhood police is really important. People in their patch, knowing their patch, trusted by those around them. They are the best form of evidence gatherers, because once you've got a neighbourhood officer, you know who it is, and there's a much better relationship with the community, because antisocial behaviour is through the roof under this government, and it's one of the many things that we have to turn around if we get the privilege to come into power. So today we launch this part of our plan, an extended part of step 6, picking up where we were 4.5 weeks ago. But in the end, it comes down to this, because this election is a choice election, a change election, and it's a very, very clear choice. Carry on with this chaos and division that's being evidenced every day, that is saying such a cost to people and their lives, or turn the page and rebuild the country with Labour. So let's go forward. What do we say? Vote Labour. Thank you very much. Can I give you that back?
Thank you.
Hello, Keir Starmer, Lisa from ITV News. We're doing the pool clip first.
Okay, you're doing 2 on Paul?
Yes, 2 on
Then
Paul.
one of your own?
Then one of our own,
Yeah.
yes. Are you happy? Michael,
Do you want me to just say a few words?
yes, please, yeah.
Is that all right for you? I can't remember what I said, but it doesn't really matter what I say, does it? You just want the levels.
Yeah, thank you. You know the drill by now. Brilliant. Okay, so 2 pool clips first. Okay. You've promised to deliver 20,000 prison places, but you've been critical of the Tories' early release scheme. So how exactly do you plan to do that? Will it be building new prisons, and if so, where?
Well, I am critical of the Tories' early release scheme, because what's happened is that they're releasing early prisoners who should still be in prison. And that's a shocking state of affairs, and like the many problems that they have left for the country, if we do come into power, we're going to have to fix it. Now, that will involve building prisons, that will involve taking tough decisions, because the money's been allocated for prison building, but there are tough decisions about planning and getting those prisons up. But what we can't have is a continuation of this total mess on criminal justice, where you've got prisoners being released early. You've got, if you can believe it, an order, an instruction for the government to the police not to arrest people who need to be arrested. That is such stark evidence of the chaos and division and the failure of the last 14 years. And the reason why at this election it's all about a choice to continue like that or to turn the page and start rebuilding our country, obviously in this case starting with our prisons.
Now, the IFS says spending cuts of £18 billion are on the way unless you raise some taxes. You promise you won't raise income tax, national insurance and VAT, but surely something's got to give. Can you rule out making spending cuts to public services?
Let me be crystal clear about this. We will not be raising taxes on working people. That means we won't be raising income tax, national insurance or VAT. We will launch our manifesto very soon. And that will have no tax surprises in it because all of our plans are fully funded and fully costed, and none of them require tax rises over and above the ones that we've already announced. What we do need to do, just to take up the challenge that's being put to us, is we do need to grow the economy. We do need to make sure that the economy and living standards across the whole country are growing, and that's why step one in government, if we get to serve our country, will be to stabilise and grow our economy.
But can you rule out spending cuts?
We are not returning to austerity. We will grow our economy. That will start by stabilising the economy because the Tories have lost control of the economy and it's working people who are paying the price for that. We've got to turn that around, stabilise the economy and then get the growth that we need desperately across the whole country.
Okay, so that's the end of the call. So now this is